Welcome to the feedback for the second lot of mini lessons for the units. I'll be looking at the same people that I looked at for the first lesson, so let's get into it. I forgot to put the name in there, but Ashley was the first person for the feedback session, so I thought your lesson 2 was a really strong follow-on from the first lesson and worked really effectively in the online context. The focus of the feedback will be meta-language, student engagement, and knowledge integration, as per the feedback sheet. But to start with meta-language, I think that was one of your strongest aspects of your lesson. It was consistent and purposeful use of the scientific languages. You consistently referred back to the terms like homeostasis, stimulus, receptor control, effector, and response as well. And they were really clearly introduced and modelled and consistently revisited throughout the lesson. The use of visual flowcharts I've got here and the step-by-step walkthroughs throughout the lesson was super supportive of the students to not only hear the terminology but get a visual and see how each component functions within that feedback loop that you were talking about. And that really supports the deep understanding and the literacy, which is really important for the online lessons. So I think, your meta language was excellent. And your use of those flowcharts was pretty spot on. So good work there. In terms of engagement, it provided heaps of opportunities for students to actively participate rather than just sort of passively watch. You use like the power paragraph, the recall task, video prompts, and the guided flowchart completion thing there as well. So, as well as that independent research stuff too. So, I think the way you were able to promote that engagement by giving the opportunities for the students to sort of discuss what they were thinking was a really well done, rather than just sort of sitting back, and they were able to do something with the information that you're sort of teaching and providing at multiple stops throughout the lesson, rather than just sort of sitting back. So great work at breaking that up really well, and that sort of supports that self-regulation and online engagement. So thought you did excellent in that context there. And then thirdly there, your knowledge integration was another really good aspect of your lesson. You deliberately connected the lesson at the start back to lesson 1, looking at the big 3 systems that you spoke about, and then before sort of extending on that and getting into the feedback mechanism. So I loved how you linked what you learned in lesson 1 and then how that would also carry over to what you're learning in today's lesson. So good work there. And then you integrated some real world examples and familiar sort of experiences like sweating, shivering, insulin and glucagon, all things that students could have and lived and felt, which increases that connectors as well and gets them to sort of understand what they might have been feeling in their life and how they can learn from that and sort of get a better understanding of what you're trying to teach as well. So that just strengthens that connectedness and meaningful learning, which is really important in that middle year sector. So great work on that knowledge integration as well. So really well done. But overall, really well structured lesson. It was conceptually really a strong online lesson as well. The clear progression throughout was really evident. The meta language was good. There was lots of effective strategies as well in terms of your engagement too. Maybe just a slightly more effective wrap up, but even that, really well done. And looking forward to watching your next lesson. Cool. So for Sam's lesson 2, that was another really good lesson. Structured feedback will be around the deep knowledge, high expectations, and substantive communication again, as per that feedback sheet. But in terms of deep knowledge, it was really strong. You had good focus on the 3 aspects of character design, looking at that inner life, visual distinction, and expressive traits as well, which I thought were really good. You explained what each of them meant and the meaning behind it and why that matters when you're doing that visual storytelling in that comic book style. So rather than just like treating the character design as just a drawing, you framed it in a way it was communicating their personality, their emotion, their narrative intent. And I think you had really good understanding of that, and you were able to communicate that very well back to the students. It helped. Just at that conceptual level rather than just like a pure technique one. So like you're looking at the deeper understandings. You don't have to be a really good drawer to understand that. So you're looking at the concepts behind it rather than this is how you draw this. So I thought the deep knowledge in that was excellent. and you sort of built on that line work from the CS and I lines as well. You continue to integrate that into your lesson too. So good work in terms of your deep knowledge. You've got a really good understanding of the topics. In terms of the high expectations, I think that was sort of expected throughout the lesson. The students were exposed to those good concepts around character psychology, looking at symbolism, expressive design, things like that. So good. I think it was good for that age group too. But the lesson was very teacher directed. Students didn't really have any opportunity to demonstrate their understandings of concepts during the lesson, so that's maybe something to think about. You could maybe incorporate some ways to ask the students to apply the aspects in small different ways, like identifying which aspect of the character is like strongest to show, or suggest a way to, I don't know, design something that would improve the inner life or the visual distinction. But yeah, just getting ways for students to sort of show you their understanding and getting them to interact a little bit more within the lesson would be probably an improvement. And that sort of follows on to our substantive communication. Again, it's in your feedback, so I thought I'd touch on it. But yeah, your explanations were really clear and well structured, and allowed students to follow on really well. But they were listeners rather than contributors. So I guess increasing the opportunities for the way for them to check for understanding, for you to check for their understanding, would be beneficial to you and the students. Just getting them to give an example, a poll, a Padlet, whatever it is. But yeah, especially in an online context, kids could really just watch this and get by without you really knowing where they're at. So yeah, getting them to sort of check for their understanding would be a positive thing for you to look at. But overall, really strong lesson. There was clear expectations in terms of what you wanted the students to do, and there was a good progression as well throughout. But yeah, just incorporating those opportunities to check for understanding would be good. But yeah, overall, well done. Love the lesson. For the third lesson of this bit, we're looking at Tina's second lesson. Tina, I thought it was excellent. It was a really well structured lesson, and the feedback I'll be looking at will be deep knowledge, engagement, and connectedness as per that feedback sheet. But to start with that deep knowledge, it was really demonstrated to focus on the key concepts throughout the lesson, which was good. Looking at what genetic engineering is, how it differs from gene editing and GMOs, and how that is applied in medicine and agriculture. So the explicit sort of explanation of those terminologies was good, and then you supported that with diagrams and short videos. I've got a couple of the examples there on the screen of the short videos that you used, and I think that was a really good way for the kids to hear maybe two perspectives, not just listening to your voice as well, but getting them and connecting them to a video, which some people are visual learners. So I thought that was really, really good. And yeah, just the use of those videos was good, and it developed that better understanding rather than just a recall. So well done with your deep knowledge there. In terms of the engagement and communication for the online lesson, it was really good. It was supported by a range of online strategies that you use. The pause and respond task, the Padlet task, and the exit poll at the end, I thought was excellent ideas. And yeah, it really enables you to check in with how the kids are going by the time you go and look at their answers, but it keeps the kids engaged throughout, and it feels like they're able to put their input into the discussions and what you're learning. So well done there. Um, the only thing I'd say is maybe the spacings with these interactive activities. Maybe space them out a bit more after little bits so they can learn a bit of content. You can sort of check in, give that little bit of formative assessment, see how they're tracking at the end of each sort of little teaching moment, because these did come at the end of the lesson. But other than that, they were pretty good. But yeah, just like maybe spacing out those formative check-ins. Don't have to be massive tasks or anything like that. But yeah, just so you do know where they're at throughout the lesson. But other than that, good work. And maybe just one other thing with the prompts that you were using, maybe sort of get them to justify their prompts rather than just that service level. So encouraging, asking that, why do we think this, getting them to analyze it. Why is this relevant? How can we do it, sort of thing. But other than that, yep, I thought your communication and activities were good. But overall, really, really good lesson. The exit poll provided a great sort of conclusion to the end of the lesson. You showed good connectedness by relating it to real world examples throughout the lesson. But yeah, great work, good digital tools. Looking forward to seeing your future lessons as well.